Um, Congress is back to work in Washington right now, where whether they like it or not, and for a lot of Republicans who support Donald Trump, the answer is not. At the White House today, the president of Poland had the misfortune to visit in the middle of Hurricane Epstein. As you probably know, Republicans forced an early recess over the summer to avoid having to vote on whether to release the Epstein files, which many of them do not want to do because it would upset Orange Julius Caesar.
Fortunately, Trump sat back down and patiently waited for his car to arrive at the White House. Just kidding. Of course, that's not what he did.
Mr. Trump then used his free hand to lunge towards Bobby Engel. And when Mr. Ornato had recounted the story to me, he had motioned towards his clavicles.
That is no way to treat a Secret Service.
Trump's presidency is the gift that humiliates itself on repeat. Jimmy Kimmel and Chelsea Handler rip through it like a cheap Vegas curtain. He walks into every crisis like it's an open MIC night, convinced the spotlight was built just for him. They feast on his desperate need for approval, his toddler-level tantrums when he doesn't get it, and his habit of treating press conferences like auditions for a reality show that should have been cancelled before it aired.
And this morning at 7:46 a.m., our president, who is staunchly pro-concussion, he loves his CTEs, weighed in on the games on Sunday. You know, he sat up in bed and posted, the NFL has to get rid of that ridiculous-looking new kickoff rule. How can they make such a big and sweeping change so easily?
So Elon called me. As you know, he endorsed me full-throated. Great endorsement. I respect Elon a lot. He respects me. And not easy for him to endorse, to be honest with you. You know, it takes courage.
It's going to take a lot of courage when you're in prison doing some full-throating of your own, sister. Love it.
His economic boasts are the first to get shredded. Trump parades numbers like a magician waving cards, but behind the illusion are families crushed by soaring costs and jobs vanishing faster than interns in his administration. Kimmel mocks how he pretends debt doesn't exist, while Handler likens his fiscal planning to maxing out a credit card at a casino and calling it a long-term investment strategy.
They kicked the can in the hopes that, I don't know, we'd be hit by a tidal wave or something, it would wash away, but it didn't wash away. So they tried another dumb idea. Again, this time the House Oversight Committee released some of the Epstein files, around 33,000 pages of the Epstein files, the vast majority of which had already been released. You would think that of all the cases, the one for Jeffrey Epstein would get a full release, but no.
Foreign policy doesn't escape the roast either. Trump approaches international relations with the grace of a man crashing a wedding buffet. Instead of negotiation, he blusters his way into rooms, mistaking intimidation for leadership. Kimmel skewers his chest-thumping bravado while Handler ridicules how allies treat him like the guest no one wants but has to tolerate. Summits under him feel less like diplomacy and more like watching a high schooler bluff an oral exam.
One is hanging this in a museum. Their other proof he didn't do it is the signature. They say it doesn't look like his signature. It sure does to me. Especially when you compare it to other Trump signatures from that era, they're almost exactly the same. They all end with a long D, which I can only assume is Trump overcompensating for a small D.
Immigration becomes another slaughterhouse. Trump's obsession with walls makes him sound like a bad HGTV contractor. Convinced cement solves everything, Handler hammers the absurdity of reducing human beings to construction statistics, while Kimmel jokes that his wall fantasies are less about security and more about leaving behind anything that won't collapse before his term ends.
Sadly, there is no footage of Trump grabbing the wheel, but I imagine it would look something like this. Hutchinson also relayed details of what happened when Trump's Attorney General Bill Barr told him there was no evidence of election fraud.
The valet had articulated that the president was extremely angry at the Attorney General's AP interview and had thrown his lunch against the wall.
When the topic turns to women, Trump becomes a parody of himself. He tries to wrap misogyny in flattery, but the act wears thinner than his spray tan. Handler dismantles his hollow admiration by pointing out it always comes with strings attached, while Kimmel reminds the audience that his track record of respect is as genuine as a $3 bill.
Is at least as dangerous as the normal kickoff and looks like hell. Sissy football is bad for America and bad for the NFL. Says the guy who wakes up in the morning and sprays his head with Aquanet. Truth be told, loudly complaining about the NFL is what a man his age should be doing right now. Maybe he'll send in the national...
Trump's obsession with crowd sizes and ratings is another punching bag. Kimmel says he measures his presidency like a teenager counting Instagram likes, while Handler compares him to a washed-up performer, insisting the audience was cheering. His desperation for validation practically diagnoses itself. Healthcare becomes another dark saga, grand promises of miraculous plans that never materialize. Kimmel with first-hand advocacy for affordable care rips apart the flimsy proposals, while Handler calls out the absurdity of dangling hope with no follow-through. His big ideas dissolve on contact with reality like cotton candy in the rain.
Now, there was some new information in the documents. Contrary to what Trump's Attorney General Pam Bondi said, there was video of that missing minute of security footage shot outside Epstein's cell. That footage somehow this footage got re-edited more times than the Zack Snyder Justice League cut. And it's a big problem for Trump because the push to release the names isn't just coming from the left. This is a bipartisan effort. It's coming from inside.
The environment gets no mercy. Trump's denial of climate change makes him sound like a man refusing to admit the sun rises every morning. Kimmel lampoons his treatment of scientists like party crashers, while Handler paints him duct taping leaks on a sinking ship. His pandemic response roasts itself incoherent briefings that left citizens confused. Handler likens it to trying to put out a forest fire with a garden hose, while Kimmel skewers the chaos of staff turnover with Trump firing anyone daring to blink the wrong way.
Subject, TikTok. His Treasury Secretary announced that they have a framework of a deal to sell TikTok to an American company. Last year, Congress voted to ban TikTok unless the Chinese company that owns it sold it to a U.S. company. This deal is very important to President Trump because TikTok is his son Don Jr.'s only friend. Trump loves TikTok. He thinks it helped him get elected.
Kimmel quips that the administration looked like a chaotic reality show cast list, while Handler notes no workplace with that much turnover could function. His obsession with loyalty becomes another comedy goldmine, demanding allegiance like a medieval king but offering nothing in return. Handler mocks how loyalty to him means blind praise, while Kimmel points out independence earns instant exile. Even his fashion is lampooned: endless red ties so long they look like emergency rope suits that hang like thrift shop costumes, and the infamous hair, nature's biggest protest against engineering.
Vote on this. Here's where we stand right now. The majority of Republicans, including this human ottoman, Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, do not want to release the files. They say it would be dangerously irresponsible to do that. The people who are trying to eliminate the measles vaccine believe it would be dangerously irresponsible to release these files. But a handful of Republicans are siding with Democrats to force it. They want to see it all. They want to know who Jeffrey Epstein's friends are, which I have to say, I know who one of them is. He looks like this. The guy, that husky one in the pink tie on the...
The press becomes his personal battlefield. Trump lashes at reporters like a man swatting bees, forgetting their job is accountability. Handler ridicules his paranoia, while Kimmel highlights how his rants make him sound more like a late-night caller than a leader. His Twitter addiction fuels more ridicule, angry rants full of typos. Kimmel mocks the incoherence, while Handler compares his posts to teenage scribbles after losing Xbox privileges. Race relations add darker edges. Handler points out how his lack of empathy poured gasoline on division.
Well, it finally happened. Kamala Harris went nose to blowhole with Donald Trump. She was brilliant, she was prepared and well-informed, and he said stuff like this.
They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets.
The only dead pet I know about is the one on your head, and she mopped the f***ing floor with it.
Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison.
Why can't you just be happy you'll have somebody to date when you get to...
Kimmel underscores his tone-deaf remarks during national pain when, instead of uniting, Trump leaned on outrage and fear. His legal troubles become rolling comedy lawsuits and indictments trailing him like parade confetti. Handler likens his courtroom reruns to episodes no one asked for, while Kimmel says he spent more time fighting lawyers than passing laws. Disaster relief also gets roasted photo ops at devastated areas posing like campaign stops. Kimmel mocks the staged sympathy, while Handler exposes the emptiness once cameras leave.
boat. And here's the other thing. This book is 22 years old. Who would have been faking Donald Trump's signature in a private birthday book in January of 2003? The Apprentice wasn't even on the air yet. This would require an extraordinary amount of planning. Caroline Leavitt, his press secretary, the woman who keeps insisting Trump didn't draw this or sign this in 2003, she was 5 years old. She was too young even for Jeffrey Epstein.
Foreign entanglements morph into punchlines. Trump cozies up to adversaries while alienating allies, confusing personal admiration with strategy. Handler skewers his dictator bromance, while Kimmel laughs at how leaders snicker behind his back. His obsession with greatness leaves both comedians in hysterics. Handler says he'll be remembered not for achievements but memes, while Kimmel calls his legacy a blooper reel. Even his patriotic theater gets roasted, wrapping himself in flags while undermining democracy. Handler reminds, true love of country serves people, not ego.
He lied about everything. He said he knows nothing about Project 2025. He lied about the 2020 election, and he lied about IVF.
I have been a leader on fertilization.
No, you're not. That's Nick Cannon, asshole. But Trump's biggest lie was about his health care plan.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan.
I don't want a world leader with concepts of a plan. A concept of a plan is...
Education under Trump becomes another torching. Teachers beg for supplies while students inherit broken policies. Handler highlights the neglect while Kimmel mocks the irony of caring about learning when his speeches sound like riddles gone wrong. The chaos of daily operations is constant comedy. Handler likens it to a circus where the ringmaster forgets his lines, Kimmel to a roller coaster with no brakes. His obsession with controlling his image fuels more mockery, gaslighting the nation, spinning every disaster as a win. Handler calls it PR on steroids, while Kimmel says even carnival barkers are more convincing. Internationally, America becomes slapstick. Foreign media treats Trump as comic relief. Leaders view the US as its own parody, starring one bumbling main character.
Meadows. Cassidy painted a very unflattering portrait of Trump's behavior on January 6th, including the little bitch fit he threw when the Secret Service wouldn't let him go to the Capitol during the riot.
I said something to the effect of, I'm the effing president, take me up to the Capitol now. To which Bobby responded, sir, we have to go back to the West Wing. The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel. Mr. Engel grabbed his arm, said, sir, you need to take your hand off the steering wheel. We're going back to the West Wing. We're not going to the Capitol.
And when grabbing the steering wheel didn't work, he grabbed the car by the...
Kimmel says no matter how much polish Trump applies, it's still the same broken record of ego wrapped in denial. His presidency is a 24-hour infomercial for himself, no charm, all noise. His tantrums over satire make him even funnier, treating jokes as global conspiracies. Handler ridicules how he amplifies harmless jabs into national headlines, while Kimmel compares him to a magician's assistant tripping over the curtain. His inability to laugh at himself cements insecurity as his trademark. Rallies are no better therapy sessions for an ego desperate for applause. Handler mocks the cult-like nodding crowds, while Kimmel likens it to a band that forgets half the lyrics but still demands endless encores.